Hello everyone, my name is Sarah of Smart Reiki and Tarot. You can book tarot readings with me. It's $30 for 30 minutes. Go to www.smartreikiandtarot.com to see what I offer and to set up an appointment. Today's guest will be my sister, Heather. Heather, welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So, Heather, you went to Salem for the first time this year. What got you interested in visiting Salem?
Yes, so many years ago, you went with mom, and I was always wanted to go, but I didn't have the chance. Our ancestor, Susanna North Martin, was one of the women who was uh, considered a witch and was killed. So I always wanted to go because of that, and to see where she was from and to see the marker. And a bus trip actually came up the Sunday before Halloween. So I signed up for the bus trip and went for the day. I had no expectations, didn't know what I was going to be able to see or do, how busy it was going to be, but it ended up being a good day.
But Susanna North Martin's her marker for her is not in Salem.
Which I didn't know that when I took the bus. But it was just cool. Over the years, one of my hairdressers, she was actually from Salem. And so we got talking about it, and she loved going on Halloween. I mean, she would do the contacts, she would do the fangs, she, would really do the whole 9 yards. And so she kind of piqued my interest more. And then, you Hocus Pocus, of course, with the show, with the movie being filmed, some of the houses being filmed there, just everything all together. And again, having it the Sunday before Halloween, I was like, well, this is just a perfect opportunity for me to go. So I did some research because only having one day, I had no idea that you needed to book at least a year in advance, to get a lot of things. But I went online, I just searched, what to do in Salem. And on YouTube, the name is Melissa, Melissa. And she lives in Salem and a young 20 something. And so she kind of listed her do's and don'ts, where to go. She had food, restaurants, shops, sites, and it was really about a half an hour long, very informative, got me so excited to go. Had a lot of things that I wanted to see. And the one thing that she said was, don't go to the witch museum, um, go to the dungeon museum, because you'll actually get to see where, once the women and people were charged, they would have to go down below and be held. And she's like, it's just really amazing to see how small these spaces are. And, if you were able to get out of there, then they would kill you. And very few people were able to get out. So that was the one place that I had to go to when we went, and we were able to get in. It's you don't buy tickets in advance, which is great. It's at every half an hour. So we got there, we had to wait like 25 minutes, pay your cash when you get to the door. And
Is it cash only?
it was just faster to do cash. They do take credit cards. But of course, the cash is just a lot faster.
And how much was it to get in? How much was the admission?
Uh, I can't remember. I think it was $13. It was either 13 or 15, per adult. And if you wanted to get a group, like, you could go to 3 places for a reduced price. Instead of $13 or $15 each, it's a little bit less, um, for each one. But one of them is the Witch Museum, and then the other one is the Pirate Museum. So we didn't really want to do those. And one person had come in line. She said, I bought the 3-for-1 pass. Do I have to wait at the end of the line, or do I get to come in? And they said, no, you have to go to the back of the line. And so not knowing, come to find out they can fit 85 people in this church area, or like the meeting house where they have it. And so, a lot of people can fit in at a time, but not knowing how many people could fit into the Witch Museum and of course the Pirate one. If you're going to stand in line all day and you only have 7 hours, we didn't want to stand in line all day. So we just did the one, and I'm so glad that we did. As I'm saying we, because I went with a friend of mine, and she had never been either, and she's a huge Halloween fan. But she came along, just to see what there was as well. She didn't have anything pressing to be there besides that it's Halloween. But it is amazing. So this meeting house is not where it originally was. It was moved kind of outside of the main drag in town. And what's kind of funny is where New England Telephone, Ma Bell at the time, when they found it, they had this property. They were going to raise everything and put in their own telephone company. And when they started moving everything, they saw these kind of catacombs, this space down below, and they did all the measurements. They did all, took pictures, the whole 9 yards, documented it really well, and then said, forget it, we're building our telephone company. So they had all the information and they were able to recreate it where they are now. And so it's really interesting. The women who were down there had to pay their own way, a lot different than a prison system now. Whatever they needed in this damp, dark, cold place, if they wanted a blanket, they need to pay for it. If they wanted food, they'd have to pay for it. Whatever they needed. And this has moved back a little bit from the water. So I'm sure where it originally was probably closer to the water. They said that lots of times it would be wet. There's no lights, of course. Back in the time, there was no electricity. So there was no lights down there. The only time would be if somebody came down to give food. Rodents, of course. The people who were able to afford it had beds. Otherwise, you were on the ground. The people who didn't have money at all, their space was literally just big enough to stand up in. And, no bathrooms. They weren't, if they wanted a pot to use to defecate in, they had to pay for the pot. So people were defecating on the floor. And if you're standing in this spot and you want to try to sit down, you're going to be sitting in your own filth.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was not nice at all. And then they brought you around and they had, wax figures and stuff like that. So you could kind of see like the town square and the hanging tree and that sort of thing as you walked out. But really, it was set up for, I forgot how many people they said could really fit in this one area. And they had more than double. They had up to 150 people. And it was only supposed to be, I can't remember.
So it's interesting you said they had a replication of the hanging tree, even though they don't know if it was a tree or if they had gallows. They don't know.
Yeah, but they had a tree set up downstairs, just as one of the scenes. So you would go down one of the hallways was set up like the town. And and then at the end you kind of go around the corner and they had the tree with people hanging from it. And then you were done, and then you came upstairs and you were outside. So yeah,
It's so morbid. So
it was morbid. And the other thing is how it was set up. I don't know what they did. Like, I don't know what this was all about, but you kind of are walking around, and they have a narrator at the top, at the beginning. They tell you what you're going to see upstairs, the recreation, that they're going to tell of the girl who, made the first claim of this lady being a witch. And so they go kind of through that back and forth. And then the rest of the time, then they take you downstairs and you can go around. Well, and they tell you all the different sections that you're going to see before you go downstairs and everything. And one of the things that you come around, it's all these kind of, you can see the bars on the windows and everything, everything's all barred up. You can't go inside or anything. But all of a sudden this woman screams and then she starts laughing and we start laughing. And we come around the corner and there was like a hand. I don't know who was behind the screen. Like, I don't know if that was supposed to be a jump scare there. I don't know who was back there. I don't know if it was like a working space. I don't know, because they didn't do it for the rest of us. And I don't know. That was just kind of odd for me. But otherwise, it was definitely worth the money to go and to see it and to experience it. And they had a woman and a younger girl, do the recreation upstairs in the courthouse. And yeah, it was definitely a good thing to experience. But we tried to go to this cemetery, and you can walk by, but they said they were sold out for the day. You couldn't get into the cemetery, and all the stones are facing in. So even though you can walk around, you can't see any of the stones because they're facing the wrong way. So that was a little disappointing. This was in the middle of the town, kind of like really close to where the main strip is for all the stores and everything. And so they had some old houses and stuff like this, but I forgot the name of it. But anyway, yeah, you had to buy tickets to get in, and they were at capacity, and they wouldn't let anybody in.
Do you know the cost of the tickets for that?
I don't, because they didn't have any signs out to say how much it was. Just people posted, everything was closed, like all the gates were closed, and they had people posted saying, you can't come in.
Did you get to the witch memorial where they had the benches and the names of the?
No. So the day we went, the Sunday before Halloween, we had a chance of rain and showers. It said it was supposed to downpour starting at 3 o'clock. We didn't get there until 11:30. So we didn't want to walk too far and get caught in a downpour, even though we had raincoats and umbrella. So we kind of just stayed in the middle. The furthest away was the dungeon, the witch dungeon museum. So we started there, and then we kind of made our way back. And so we did stop at one restaurant. It was a Live Well, I think it was. It was all healthy, fresh pressed juices, and everything was, alive, healthy. It was very good, well priced, I thought. And again, the only place that didn't have reservations needed, and there wasn't a line. So that
Yeah,
was
you
another
saw that
reason.
line wrapped around Rockefeller's, right?
The line wrapped around Rockefeller's. If we wanted to stay all day, we probably could have had lunch there, but we probably would have been in line.
All day.
Yeah, and just like next to this Live Well restaurant, they did the oh, I can never think of the name of the cookies. These little treats. It was like a little
Oh,
cafe,
macaroons.
the
Macaroons.
macaroons. And the line was so long. And at the end of the day, the shop was totally clear, totally just empty. Looked like there wasn't even any store there at all. And they had solely, there was a sign on the door saying sold out. So that line,
Literally everything.
yes,
The
ate
store was
everything.
wiped out. Yeah.
It was totally wiped out.
Yeah. So I that was my third time going to Salem this October, and I will not go to Salem in October again.
I didn't think it was too bad. The lines, yeah, there was lines set up, and there was actually a sign that said Salem is the Disney World of Massachusetts because of the lines. But we were able to get in and out of stores relatively easy and quick. There were a couple places that the lines were too long, people were taking longer. Um, and so we just didn't wait. But that wasn't a big deal. We just moved along, and we did get to see places, stores, as it did get later in the afternoon and there was sprinkles and rain. Like the bookstores were hard to maneuver around, even though they limit how many people, every store they limit how many people can go in. But, it's just hard to maneuver around bookshelves and things like that. But, it was just interesting to look around and see what they had.
I just think it's better in the summertime because they have people who do reenactments, and they do reenactments through the mall, like that, the little cobblestone street. They do reenactments, and then you can go to the meeting house, which is what we did the last time. I think it was 6 years ago that I went with mom and dad, and we saw the reenactment of one of the proceedings. And so they acted it all out, and then underneath there was like a little museum, and that was just really neat, like historical wise, which for me, I mean, yes, I'm a Halloween fan, but I of course am just very intrigued with the history of 1692 of the
Yeah, we didn't get that. We
right.
didn't get that.
Exactly. So I like going in the summertime because they have their reenactments, and it's called, what is it called? The Pioneer Village? Is that?
I really wanted to go there, but they closed the end of August.
Yes. So I recommend, if you're interested in the history and the actual Salem witch trials, if you have a connection like us, go in the summertime, because then they have the reenactors and they have the Pioneer Village, and it's just, to me, a better experience for the history. Where in October, it's a little campy, it's more about Halloween, it's less about the actual victims of the witch trial, of the witch hysteria. And
Yeah, now my friend who went, because of the whole Halloween, loving Halloween and everything, she always dresses up and has parties, and she was expecting more. And so she was a little disappointed because, I mean, there was a lot of witches, of course, a lot of people dressed up as witches. Families dressed up. One family was dressed up as a circus. That was amazing. That was so cute. The dad was the lion. The mom was the ringleader, and one of the daughters was aerial artist, and the little boy was the strong man. So that was. I did not get a picture of them. And and then there was some two ladies who were dressed up as witches, and they were great. I love their costumes. um and but there wasn't anything kind of out there, nothing that is more typical, kind of, that you would see at a Halloween party, like an adult Halloween party. So she was really hoping for the contact lenses and the fake teeth and all that sort of stuff, and we didn't see that.
did you see anyone dressed up as vampire? Like, supposedly there's a street performer, but again, I was reading this book. It was called A Season with the Witch, and it's 6 years old. The book came out 6 years ago, so of course the information is dated.
At
And
the Vamp Wings, I'm not sure what it's called, Vamp something, and that's where they have they don't have any contacts there. You have to buy them online, and it has to be prescription. So my friend was disappointed because she really wanted to get the contacts. But they had all the different kinds of fangs, different lengths, and all that sort of stuff. They had that. The guy who was standing in the door was dressed as a vampire.
okay.
Totally black, clothing, leather, head to toe, the whole 9 yards. He was totally in costume, which was really that was cool. Inside a few of these stores, and that was one of them, they had it really decorated, and that was fun to see. I wish more stores were kind of decorated. One store used to be, they had cargo, like grain and stuff. It was, I don't really know the word for it, but
A feed store?
like a feed store kind of a thing. You'd have to go up these stairs to get in, but that was decorated, and how it was laid out inside was period correct from the time period. So that was fun to see. And so yeah, otherwise it was just, the stores on the street. But yeah, to see those extra things and what they put into it. Now, there were a lot of monsters on the street, only because there's a monster, I think it's like a wax museum, and they were pushing hard for people to go into this wax museum. So they had Frankenstein and different ones, and they were walking around. But that wasn't kind of the general public. The other thing was, they had so for street performers, we saw there was a guy drumming, and then after he was drumming for a while, another guy came out, and he was going to do some dancing. I don't know if break dancing or what, While we were there kind of looking at the Bewitched sculpture, because that's what he was across the street doing that. This guy opens up his window and starts yelling down, "Shut up." I mean, he's yelling for them to just stop. I don't know. We couldn't hear exactly what he was saying. There were police on the street, just kind of making sure because we were crossing the street. So they had um, barricades up so people didn't cross only at the crosswalk and stuff like that. And so they were paying attention, but the guy either worked nights or whatever, but he was sick of that drum and he wanted him to go.
Well, could you imagine living in Salem in October? I mean, they hate it.
Yeah,
The
they hate it.
Salem hate it. It's obnoxious.
Yeah. So we had to agree with them, like, okay, we get it. We are just here for the day. And we live near Woodstock, Vermont, which is similar to the locals for foliage as Salem is for the locals of Halloween.
Yeah.
Theirs only really, well, theirs is 2 months long, and ours can go around the same time.
Yeah.
So everything's blocked up, and the people in town have a hard time. But
Yeah, but
so
at least in Woodstock, there's not street performers. It's just people walking very slow.
it's just people walking very slow. The traffic is backed up. There's only one way in and one way out and one way through. There's only one road. Kind of again like going into Salem and out. It's all bottlenecked. And the people who live in town, though, if you're trying to get somewhere, it's faster just to walk. But
Yeah, we saw parking was like $50. We parked outside of the city and we walked in.
to Salem,
Yes, we parked outside and walked in.
yeah, I saw some were $20. Of course, depending on how far you wanted to walk and everything like that.
We
But yeah,
went
they
during a weekday. I think it was like a Tuesday
Wednesday, I thought.
or Wednesday. Yeah. And it was $50 for parking in downtown.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So we're like, no, no.
Yeah, I didn't see the in-town parking because again, we were on a bus, so they let us off right there, and then we just met up with them later, which was nice not having to drive in. But I definitely would like to go again in the summer when I can go to the village, and stay overnight. Of course, do one of the ghost tours, and I don't know that I want to stay in one of the haunted ghost motels, or maybe not a room that is haunted. Maybe I think maybe I could stay in a hotel, but just not the room that's haunted. um, but yeah, so it would be fun to go for a night.
Did you have any paranormal experiences while you were on your trip in October in Salem?
So it was interesting. As I said, as it gets later, and it's dark kind of earlier, we had to be ready for the bus at 6, but it was already, getting dark at 5. We were walking down the side street, and so there was some people in front of us. We were just walking and don't know who they are or anything. And all of a sudden, there was a white fence to our left, and so in between buildings, all of a sudden, I see something come out between the gentleman in front of me and myself, and he jumps, and I even said, like, "What's that? What was that?" And I hear him say to his friends, "Did you see that leaf? It tried to kill me. It tried to trip me up." And it was a leaf, but it wasn't windy and it wasn't raining. It came like out from under the fence, or like between the fence. It was really, and it just one leaf, and it just came shooting out. And it was at night, so nobody was using a blowing machine. There wasn't any leaf blowers. There wasn't anybody standing there. And it just was like really, you just saw this like thing kind of go. And with him tripping, you kind of react because I just, and I was like, wow, that was, so it kind of makes you think, like, how did just one leaf, and why did it come sideways, and it was down so low, and if there was a breeze in between these two buildings, we've been to New York City, we know how the wind whistles through tall buildings. These aren't tall buildings, 2 stories maybe. And yeah, so it kind of made you stop and think what was going on.
Yeah, it sounds like it was a leaf helped out by a spirit, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
no idea.
maybe the spirits are, annoyed by all the people too. They're like, get out of here.
Yeah, was it for the guy in front of me? Was it for me? Who knows? I mean, yeah, don't know.
Maybe it was Susanna saying hello. I don't know.
Maybe that
Are you
could
gonna
be.
take are you gonna take a trip to her homestead to see her plaque?
If I go down in the summer, then I would be driving, so I would make sure that I, did more of the history and definitely go and see the plaque and everything. Yes.
So unfortunately, the book that one of her descendants wrote, A Witch in the Family, it's no longer available. You can't purchase it anymore.
But we have a copy, right?
You have a copy, yes, of
Yes.
course. Have you read it, right?
Yes. When you got it the first time. Yeah, when you picked it up.
Yeah. Um, because I know that one of her descendants lives there still, like in that area, and so if he sees somebody go to the plaque, he tries to go out and introduce himself and give a brochure, and he recommends people reading the book because usually most people who go are descendants of hers. So he wants to meet them, meet his relatives. I don't think he came out when we went 6 years ago. I don't think I met him. But maybe I did and I just don't remember because how else did I know about the book? I don't know.
Right. Oh, you could have done research.
That's true.
Yeah.
I definitely like to do my research.
Yes, you do. And was his last name Martin? Who's the author who wrote the book?
I'm not sure. It was nice when we went and we saw the memorial. Her descendants, a group of them, wrote a nice letter. If I can find it, I'll pull it up for you. Stephen Hawley Martin is the author of the book. It won't really let you see the cover, will it?
I'm sure he can't be there 24/7,
No.
to meet everybody and to see everybody. So,
And I don't think it's the gentleman who wrote the book.
oh, okay. A different.
It's just someone
Oh,
else.
yes. Yeah, I have that. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Stephen Hawley Martin is the author of the book, but it's not available anymore. That it was 6 years ago, I think, that the book came out, and that's when I picked it up. Dear Great Grandma times 10, all of us cousins just found out about you and are all so interested in your life story. I am so sorry you had to go through what you did. Your strength and courage through everything has definitely been passed on to all of us generations later. We all feel that high vibration, energy, strength, connection, and realize how now why we have felt the way we do. Thank you for being our great grandmother. We may not have known you, but I am sure we would have all loved you. Love always, your great grandchildren, Susanna North Martin Goody, 9/28/2022. So this was left there.
Oh, wow.
On
I would love to have you send me a copy of that.
Yeah, I can send that to you. So
And she is our cousin. She is on our grandmother's side, correct?
no,
No, grandfather's side.
grandfather's side. Like this is what they do. This is what they're like benches with the people's names who are 119 people. And people leave flowers and notes. So
That's a beautiful note that they wrote.
This one is for Susanna North Martin. She was hanged July 19th, 1692.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
That's where the memorial is, and it's right next to, so the cemetery right next to it is the Charter Street Cemetery. Is that the cemetery?
Yes, the Charter Street is the one that we couldn't get into.
So if you just walked right around the corner, that's where the memorial was.
Oh man, we were so close.
We were so close. Now in the summertime, I don't know if it's still that way, but in the summertime when we went 6 years ago, you don't have to pay to go to the Charter Street cemetery. It's free, you just walk in. But I don't know if they charge only for October or, it's been 6 years.
Right.
And everybody wants that money. Everything's about money. So who knows? I'm going to have to look that up and see if they charge all year round. And I'll make note of it and put it in the description.
Yeah, that would be great.
How much it costs and if it's all the time. But yeah, I prefer going in the summer. I just don't like lines and I don't like crowds. And we went in October during the middle of the week. It was crowded, but not too bad. But again, Rockefellers had a line. So we were like, no, we're not going to go. So we went across the street to this little breakfast place called The Ugly Mug.
We did not see that. I really wanted to go to Melt because, again, the girl who I watched the video, she was talking about Melt. And when we first got there, it wasn't open yet. But after we had lunch, it was open, but we were too full from our lunch to
and
stop and get.
Explain what Melt is.
So Melt is an ice cream shop. It has all these specialty flavors and just kind of out of the world flavors. I think they had a pumpkin one, but I wish I could remember the one I really wanted. I think I had told you, Sarah, which one.
Was it something like maple walnut or something? Or
that sounds too simple. Like there was each of their flavors of ice cream. It's like layers. So maple walnut you can kind of get anywhere, but it was something different. They all had like special names. Like maybe there was like a caramel apple one. I'm not really sure, but they were more kind of they have kind of these specialty flavors. And so I was really looking forward to trying some of their specialties. There was another place, I think it was like the Rooftop, which that restaurant was open. And I don't know if there was a line or not, but I did see it. We did walk by it. And again, they had specialty drinks, specialty cocktails, a little bit off the menu, nothing that you would see normal or regular that I really wanted to go and try.
I pulled up Melt online. These are the flavors they have right now. Atomic coffee, banana Nutella with peanut butter cups, black raspberry Taza chip yogurt, chocolate peanut butter cup, maple bourbon, was that the one?
Oh, the bourbon, yeah, that could have been it.
Nutty almond, Oreo, salted caramel with sea salt brownies, Taza chip cookie dough, vanilla, and white minty chip.
I think if you read...
Here's the rotating flavors. Sweet potato fluff.
There you go.
Pumpkin.
Yep.
Spicy dark chocolate, ginger snap cookie, and Christmas sugar cookie. And they were probably a little different. It looks like they have their
Christmas,
yeah.
Yeah, but they did have a pumpkin one because, for Halloween, you'd have a pumpkin one. But yeah, the specialty ones are the ones I wanted to try.
Yeah. We walked right by Melt as well, walking out of the city, as well as the Dungeon Museum. But we just walked around the stores because for me, I really wanted to go see Lori Cabot's store. And so the 2 previous times I'd been, I was more into the history, like I stated. And this time I wanted to go to Lori Cabot because Lori Cabot is really the founder of creating Witch City and really putting the witch in the city. She opened the first witch shop in Salem and was the first openly active witch. So it's interesting that when I went...
What was the name of her store?
I'll have to link it below. I want to say it's Enchanted, but I'll have to look.
Oh, we did. We went there. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Bye.
All right. Bye.